Number 10, Melinda Gates and Bill Gates. Earlier this year, Bill and Melinda Gates had been in and out of the news regarding their divorce, ending their marriage of nearly 30 years. After they announced that they were separating, more and more news started to come out about Bill, which shows that Melinda wasn't always happy and probably regretted her marriage to him at times. The moment where she really wanted to leave, though, was when her husband began a friendship and close bond with Jeffrey Epstein, turning him into a pretty horrible person. Information has come out suggesting that Melinda had made the decision to begin the divorcing process in 2019 after a report by the New York Times had linked Bill and Jeffrey, showing that she just didn't want to be with such a horrible person anymore. Melinda had previously warned Bill about the billionaire when they first met back in 2013. However, despite her forewarnings, Bill allegedly continued to meet with Epstein, later leading him to getting exposed for their relationship when Epstein was arrested in 2019. Melinda seemingly wanted out of her marriage as soon as she realized that Bill was in too deep with Epstein. After all this came out, you can really start to see what Melinda was dealing with for all of those years, and that she had been dealing with an unhappy marriage for quite a while. At number 9, Jude Law and Sienna Miller. Cheaters are awful people, so I guess this next actor falls under that category. Actor Jude Law was involved in a cheating scandal in the early 2000s that destroyed his potential marriage to Sienna Miller and left a lot of people so surprised. After getting engaged in 2004, Jude Law was exposed for cheating on his fiancée with a woman named Daisy Wright. In 2006, Daisy, the nanny for Jude's children, came forward about how she and Jude were allegedly having an affair. She ended up spilling the beans on their whole relationship in an interview she did with the Sunday Mirror, and went in depth about her affair with the actor, sharing every scandalous detail. A lot of people were shocked to hear about this whole affair, but eventually Jude came clean to the public about everything and issued an apology to Sienna. Now, even though they weren't married yet, it was a plan to do so, so it counts, right? Jude ruined his potential future marriage because he decided to cheat, so that's pretty unfortunate that their marriage ended before it even began. Before we carry on talking about some of the horrible people that some celebrities have married, why not take a brief moment to leave a like on this video if you're enjoying it so far, and maybe even consider subscribing to the channel to see more videos like this one. At number 8, Beyonce and Jay-Z. Even the biggest celebrity couples have their problems, and sometimes they can be fixed. Take Beyonce and Jay-Z for example. A lot of people think that Beyonce married an awful person for what Jay-Z has put her through, especially with their troubles with infidelity. It all started when Solange and Jay-Z got into that big elevator fight at the Met. There was a lot of drama surrounding that fight, but no one really knew what provoked it until word came out saying that it was because Jay-Z had cheated. Though no one really acknowledged or spoke out about this apparent infidelity, things got worse when Beyonce low-key exposed her husband's infidelity on her album Lemonade, where she made several subtle and not so subtle comments about her husband's alleged affair. Jay-Z had to respond with his music, where he apologized to his wife for his infidelity and addressed some of their relationship issues. After all of this drama both in and out of the music world, they were able to seek out couples therapy to rebuild their relationship, but for a while there, things looked pretty bad and it looked like Beyonce may have made a mistake by marrying Jay-Z.
And at number 7, Mindy Kaling. Mindy Kaling shared a really unfortunate dating story that I'm sure we're all familiar with, getting friend-zoned. And even though the guy did nothing wrong, it still hurt. Kaling actually revealed the story in a Reddit AMA. She wrote, quote, "The worst date I've ever been on was with a guy who I was super excited about, really attracted to, and then on the date it became apparent that it wasn't a date. He was just a straight dude who was psyched to have dinner with me in a platonic way. He talked about an actress he really wanted to date and we split the check." Ugh, that's what makes it so much worse. The guy talking about someone else that he was really hoping to date. So sorry for Mindy.
At number 6, Catherine Pais and Austin McBroom. Basketball player turned YouTube family vlogger Austin McBroom has been in countless scandals over the years, and the amount of times he's been accused of cheating on his wife Catherine is just too much to count. He's no doubt an awful person for being unfaithful to his partner, and though he continues to deny each accusation, they still keep coming. One of the latest scandals he faced alleged that not only did he have a secret relationship with another woman, but that he has a secret daughter too. A TikTok user took to the platform to make the allegation that Austin was the secret father of her child and that Austin's wife paid the other woman to terminate her pregnancy. This was mostly just speculation, but after someone else came forward claiming to work at the daycare where Austin's secret daughter attends, saying that Austin is listed in the child's paperwork as the legitimate father, people were starting to wonder if this is actually true. Like I said before, these cheating allegations really aren't anything new for Austin, so no one knows what to think anymore. But one thing is for certain, and that is Catherine married a pretty awful guy. At number 5, Kevin Hart and Aniko Hart. Kevin Hart had a lot of making up to do after his explosive cheating scandal made him look like an awful person. Kevin was caught cheating on his wife Aniko Parrish after someone came forward trying to extort the comedian for $10 million in exchange for not releasing footage which showed him being unfaithful to his wife. Since he had essentially been caught, he owned up to his actions and issued a public apology to Aniko on his Instagram where he said, quote, "I made a bad error in judgment and put myself in an environment where only bad things can happen, and they did. At the end of the day, I gotta do better, but I'm also not going to allow a person to have financial gain off my mistakes, and in this particular situation, that's what was attempted." End quote. Some people pointed out that his apology didn't really include much accountability for his actions, but it was enough to keep Kevin and Aniko together, even though the trust in their relationship was seriously broken. They welcomed their first child together shortly after the scandal happened, and they continued to support one another, but that doesn't take away from the fact that Aniko is with a pretty awful partner. At number 4, Wiz Khalifa and Amber Rose. Wiz Khalifa and Amber Rose were married for some time after tying the knot in 2013, but after 14 months of marriage and a lot of toxicity, they divorced and it was a pretty nasty breakup. There were allegations of cheating and the custody of their son was also up for debate. Years later, Amber Rose opened up about her brief marriage to Wiz Khalifa and the toxicity around it and spoke out about her regrets concerning their marriage. She once said how she regretted getting married when she did because they didn't give themselves enough time to grow in their relationship and that this was one of the things that contributed to the hostility. Amber also expressed that she felt as though they would have had a more successful marriage if they got married later in life, calling their wedding at the time a mistake. Now I'm going to argue that maybe they were just awful people for each other because their whole situation was just one big mess, but what do you guys think?
And at number 3, Jenny Slate. Jenny Slate easily had one of the most awkward first dates ever because the guy showed up in an insane outfit. While on the Talk Easy with Sam Fragoso podcast, Jenny told her worst date story. Apparently it all started with a blind date, which is really making me lose hope in blind dates altogether. She said, quote, "He comes around the corner inside the restaurant and this dude is dressed in full chainmail. He's got a full authentic knight's costume on, including a floor-length tabard," which I called a tunic, and then he corrected me and was like, "It's actually a tabard." His chainmail was like getting caught on stuff. I'm mortified and I'm also just mad. He's trying my pasta and the chainmail clinking across and stuff. It's insane. At that point, I would have been asking myself if I was getting punked because there's no way a serious human shows up to a date like that. Honestly, maybe it was all a joke and she didn't find out until later. Who knows?
At number 2, Chrissy Teigen and John Legend. Hurting others is always negative, and going out of your way to put someone down can make you an awful person. No one deserves to be treated poorly, and no one should support that kind of behavior. This is what makes Chrissy Teigen such an awful person, and since John Legend married her, this couple fits this list. This year, Chrissy was exposed for her dark side. She faced backlash for resurfaced tweets and DMs directed at Courtney Stodden from back in the day. These messages were really hurtful and mean, and they really hurt Courtney as they've come out saying that these messages affected them greatly when they were younger. When Chrissy got cancelled, she didn't handle it well and didn't really take accountability for her actions and made the backlash towards her an even bigger deal, playing the victim in this whole situation. This behavior isn't something positive, and I couldn't imagine being married to someone so negative. And finally, at number 1, Marilyn Manson and Lindsay Usage. A huge scandal that happened this year came from singer Marilyn Manson, and it shocked a lot of people as it exposed all the terrible things that he's done to past partners. It all started when his ex-partner, actress Evan Rachel Wood, came forward in an Instagram post to name Manson as someone who had harmed her for a long time. In her statement, Evan cited how manipulative Marilyn was, accusing him of brainwashing her, and told her fans about how Manson caused her so much mental, physical, and emotional pain. This caused more people to come forward later on, including Game of Thrones actress Esme Bianco, who came forward with some of the horrible encounters she had with Manson. Knowing all of this, Marilyn could certainly be called an awful person, and once again, I couldn't imagine being married to this person after knowing all of this. At number 10, Iggy Azalea and Nick Young. When you've been unfaithful to your partner, it pretty much makes you an awful person, and you're bound to get exposed for it, especially if you're a celebrity. No one really gets away with cheating, especially these days because of our presence on social media, making things difficult difficult to hide. Back in 2016, basketball player Nick Young was exposed by one of his teammates for having cheated on his then fiancée, Iggy Azalea. D'Angelo Russell, Nick's teammate, had recorded Nick talking about how he had cheated on Iggy, and the footage was leaked to the internet. This caused Iggy to postpone their wedding, but things ultimately ended a few months later after Iggy caught Nick on her security cameras bringing in other women into their house when she wasn't there. This was the last straw for Iggy, but it also didn't help Nick's case after it was alleged that he had gotten his ex pregnant again while still in a relationship with Iggy. It certainly is a good thing that they didn't end up getting married. At number 9, Khloe Kardashian and Tristan Thompson. At this point, knowing that Tristan Thompson is a pretty awful partner really isn't anything new. Now, I know that Khloe and Tristan aren't actually married, but they're pretty close, and I mean, we can't talk about awful partners without discussing their toxic relationship. All of their relationship drama started back in 2018, and we're still seeing the two of them making headlines together in 2021, so I mean, they're kind of perfect for this list. In April 2018, just shortly before their daughter True was born, photos of Tristan appearing to cheat were leaked, and obviously this wasn't good, but things got even worse when TMZ leaked footage from 2017, which showed Tristan allegedly kissing women at a club. Things mostly died down after their daughter was born, but later in 2019, more cheating allegations came out detailing how he had been cheating on Khloe again, this time with their longtime family friend Jordan Woods. This ended them for good, or so we thought. Now in 2021, people are still talking about them, and honestly I don't know what's going on with them anymore. Before we carry on talking about some of the worst celebrity couples and what went wrong, why not leave a like on this video if you're enjoying it so far, and while you're at it, consider subscribing to the channel to see more videos like this one. At number 8, Mariah Carey and Tommy Mottola. In September 2020, singer Mariah Carey revealed in her memoir, The Meaning of Mariah Carey, that she had once been unfaithful to her first husband. In her book, Mariah wrote about how during her first marriage to music executive Tommy Mottola, she cheated on him with baseball star Derek Jeter. Mariah talked about how she felt trapped in her marriage because of the age difference and because her husband was controlling. Now, cheating isn't necessarily excusable, but after opening up about how Tommy treated her, you can kind of see why she wanted to escape and find someone new. Tommy's treatment of Mariah prompted her to seek out a temporary escape, and after meeting Derek at a dinner party in 1997, she bonded with him. Mariah also revealed that soon she and Derek started talking, leading to them to having a quote, warm, slow, intoxicating kiss on Derek's roof. End quote. The singer said that after that kiss, they never went any further because she was still married, saying, quote, neither of us wanted to cheapen our romance by cheating on my marriage. End quote. Both Mariah and Tommy were awful partners to each other. At number 7, Kim K and Kanye West. Kanye has been through a lot over the last year or so. He lost the presidential race, and now he's lost his marriage, and Kim's moved on with Pete Davidson of all people. Kim and Kanye's relationship looked like it had been on its last leg for a while, especially after all the drama between Kanye and the Kardashians following his presidential campaign rant and his Twitter meltdowns. Kanye has even said that he knows he didn't do enough to make their relationship survive. There was, however, a lot more going on behind the scenes that we didn't quite know about. Apparently, there came a point where things got too complicated and too toxic to handle. Kim talked about some of the rocky things that happened with her and Kanye towards the end, like how he spent much of his time away from his family in Wyoming and how their communication was at an all-time low. There were also reports that Kim and Kanye were fighting a lot, and there was also a rumor that Kanye had tried to sleep with another woman while still married to Kim. Things were clearly just very toxic and weren't meant to work out in the long run, so it could be argued that maybe Kim shouldn't have married Kanye. At number 6, Jesse Metcalfe and Cara Santana. In 2020, Desperate Housewives actor Jesse Metcalfe and actress Cara Santana called it quits after a 10-year-long relationship, and things were pretty messy. After announcing their breakup publicly in the days following, they were hit with a cheating scandal as cheating allegations came out after Jesse was seen with another woman just days before news broke of the couple's separation. On top of that, paparazzi images showed Jesse with a blonde woman who he appeared to have his arm around and kissing her cheek. Basically, he was caught red-handed. To make matters worse, the actor was allegedly seen with another woman whom he was getting close to. Everything happened so fast that Cara told sources that she felt totally blindsided by the whole affair and that she thought everything was fine between them. To make matters worse for Cara, she apparently didn't know that they were broken up until she saw it in the news. It's alleged that there was no face-to-face breakup and that she found out when the rest of the public did too. They were set to get married in the near future, so technically she didn't marry this awful partner, but she almost did, ended, and it would have been even worse to find out about all this infidelity after tying the knot.
At way number 5, Tiffany Haddish. Before getting into a relationship with Common, Tiffany Haddish had to endure a lot of bad dates. Apparently, she had even planned to go on a date with Drake, but he needed to leave town last minute, so he cancelled and they never went out. And then she went out with another guy and it became the story of her worst date ever. This is probably one of the laziest and slimiest things I've ever heard, but apparently Tiffany Haddish went on a date with a guy and it ended with her doing laundry. The guy said they'd be going to dinner, you know, a classic date night. But it turned out a lot different. She told TMZ about the bad date, saying, quote, "I went on a date with a guy to wash his clothes. He said we were going to dinner and we got dinner and then we went to the laundry house and washed his clothes. That's horrible, I'm not a damn maid." I'm not sure what in the world made this guy think he would get a second date after that.
At number 4, Jada Pinkett Smith and Will Smith. After finding herself in a bit of a summer scandal, Jada Pinkett Smith was the center of attention for a little while last year after her entanglement with singer August Alsina went public. Jada faced some backlash for her relationship with the singer for a few reasons, one of which obviously being her relationship with Will Smith. When news broke of Jada's relationship with August, people immediately thought that she had been cheating on Will and that this news was going to blow up in his face. Many fans sent their support to Will because it looked like he had been facing a huge cheating scandal, but after discussing it on their Facebook watch show, Red Table Talk, they revealed that the two of them had separated a few years ago and that they were more so in an open relationship. Regardless, people still believe that Jada was pretty awful because Will looked to be a little hurt by her entanglement with August. But what do you think? Was it considered cheating? And do you think Jada is an awful person for doing this? At number 3, Jennifer Aniston and Brad Pitt. Before Brangelina took over Hollywood, Brad Pitt and Jennifer Aniston were a thing. Jennifer and Brad's romance story began in the 90s, meeting for the first time in 1994, but going on their first date in 98. After 2 years of dating, the wedding of the year took place in 2000 on a bluff in Malibu. Things were okay until Angelina came into the picture after she and Brad met while working on Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Fast forward a little bit to 2005 and Bennifer was over. They filed for divorce, making room for Brangelina. It was a whirlwind breakup because of the cheating scandals and rumors, as it was said that Brad cheated on Jen with Angie and she became the other woman of sorts. Even as things died down over the years, tabloids would still bring up this drama from time to time, almost making it seem as though things weren't exactly over for this unfortunate love triangle. I guess you could say that Jen married an awful person for what Brad put her through. At number 2, Anne Hathaway. Now, even though they didn't end up getting married, they were still pretty close to it, and it's probably for the best that things ended when they did, because Anne Hathaway nearly married a pretty horrible person. The actress was once in a 4-year relationship with Italian businessman Raffaello Folori, and they were reportedly close to getting married. That is until things came crashing down when it was discovered that Raffaello was involved in money laundering. He was arrested in 2008, and as you can imagine, the relationship stopped right then and there, and it's a good thing that she didn't stick around. And finally, at number 1, Mario Lopez and Ali Laundrie. Turns out that perhaps Mario Lopez isn't as nice as we may have thought, because apparently he cheated on his soon-to-be wife Ali Laundrie just days before their wedding. Mario confessed to Howard Stern in 2011 that back in 2004 he had cheated on Ali during his bachelor party. That's a pretty awful thing to do. I mean, just days before tying the knot too. Understandably, their marriage didn't last long at all, and they got it annulled just 2 weeks after getting married. To make matters worse though, Mario wrote about the experience in his memoir where he revealed that he didn't even love Ali, saying, quote, "Lightning hit me with the truth. I wasn't in love, but I walked down the aisle anyway."
And at number 10, Taylor Swift. We all know that Joe Jonas is not an awful person, but he did do an awful thing to Taylor Swift. If you don't know, the pair dated for a few months back in 2008, and it ended very harshly. Then Taylor went on the Ellen show shortly after, and when asked about the split, she said, quote, "When I find that person that's right for me, he'll be wonderful. When I look at that person, I'm not even going to remember the boy who broke up with me over the phone in 27 seconds when I was 18. And everyone knew exactly who she was talking about and labeled Joe Jonas the worst guy ever. I mean, he broke up with her on a 27-second phone call. However, Taylor recently admitted that she regrets what she said on the show and she took things too far. When asked if Taylor had any regrets, she replied that she regretted putting Joe on blast, joking that she was 18 at the time and it was very teenage behavior. And at number 9. Martha Stewart. Martha Stewart exposed the worst date she's ever been on, and apparently the man quickly left the date and did not pay, leaving her to pay the whole bill. Hope he wasn't looking for a second date. On her show Martha and Snoop's Potluck Dinner Party, she revealed, quote, "I went to the lounge area at Lee Bernardin with this guy. He had to go somewhere afterward and I had to go somewhere after as well. We each had places to go. He didn't ask me to go with him to the second place. We had cocktails and a little caviar or something. Then he just got up and said he had to run, and he ran right out and didn't pay, and I thought that was extremely rude." Part of me hopes that Martha called him out for what he did on text or something after, because if someone did that to me, they would absolutely be hearing from me later. And at number 8, Kelly Clarkson. While Kelly Clarkson was on the Ellen show, she spilled the tea on her worst dating story. Apparently she went out with a guy that was not much taller than her, and that was all he would talk about the whole night, even though Kelly didn't really have a problem with it. She said, quote, "He was 5'2" and I'm 5'3. Obviously I went out with you so it didn't bother me," but he proceeded to talk about his height for like a solid hour. Apparently there was a point she knew she would never go out with this guy again, so she left, adding, quote, "And I stood an hour and then I went to the bathroom and I left. I couldn't take it."
At number 7, Dominic West and Catherine Fitzgerald. In the fall of 2020, actor Dominic West shocked a lot of people, including his wife, when photos surfaced online of him looking to be getting pretty close with actress Lily James. The leaked images showed the actor ringless on an outing, getting cozy with his co-star in Rome. He was spotted kissing and caressing the actress, and there were sources claiming that he and Lily had shared a hotel room as well. When reports of this alleged affair came out, a source close to Dominic's wife, Catherine, said that she was, quote, "devastated and heartbroken," going on to say that she believed that she and her husband had a good marriage. Clearly, there was something wrong there. This scandal, however, took an interesting turn just days after the story first broke, as Dominic and his wife were spotted together kissing in front of paparazzi, and the couple even released a handwritten note to news outlets saying, quote, "Our marriage is strong and we're very much still together," end quote. Now, not only did Dominic cheat, but Catherine still took him back after all that. You cannot catch me forgiving someone like that, especially after it became public. Dominic was certainly an awful person for putting his wife through all of that.
And at number 6, Emma Watson. Now this guy is actually awful because he took precious time during a date with Emma Watson to trash talk other people, which just shows what kind of slimeball he must be. Emma was speaking about her worst date stories to The Telegraph and shared, quote, "The worst date I've ever been on was with the guy who told me he couldn't be friends with fat people or anyone who was unattractive. I realized pretty quickly that he was a nutter and I had to get out as quickly as I could." Yeah, that has to be one of the biggest red flags in a person that I have ever seen. Thankfully, Emma did not waste any more of her precious time with him. Now I'm just wondering how he even managed to get a date with her in the first place. Hopefully she doesn't go that route again.
At number 5, LaToya Luckett and Tomicus Walker. Former Destiny's Child member LaToya Luckett and ex-husband Tomicus Walker had a really rocky falling out, and it could be said that she married an awful person. The R&B singer announced earlier this year that she and her husband were getting a divorce following a cheating scandal that started up last year. In the fall of 2020, footage was leaked which allegedly showed Tommy in a hotel room with another woman. The video showed a man who looked like Tommy asleep in the room, and another video alleged that some kind of indiscretion had taken place that night. The evidence to support the allegations saying that this is in fact Tomicus in the video is that the man in the footage has a very similar tattoo of the name Ruby on his leg. It seems as though this was all the evidence that was needed for LaToya to want to call it quits and leave her husband. Tomicus denies all cheating allegations, blaming, quote, "outside forces" on the downfall of his marriage, but judging by what happened, I think it's a case of cheaters being horrible people.
In at number 4, Billie Eilish. Billie Eilish had her bad date story when she was only 13, and apparently the guy flat out told her the kissing was not good. Her and the guy went to the movies and she was very excited because she had a big crush on him, but after they finally kissed, things went way downhill. Billie told Howard Stern about the bad date, quote, "He kissed me and then he said, that was not as magical as I thought it would be. He was super rich and his butler, literally his butler, took him home. He left and I was stuck there and no one told me they were going to leave. Dude is hella ugly now." So clearly Billie got the last laugh in the whole situation. I mean, look at her now.
At number 3, Clark Gable. Old Hollywood has a whole lot of mystery and scandal hidden behind a bright, shiny Hollywood sign. There was some dark stuff that went down back then, and it's only now that people are actually talking about it. One scandal that people were fascinated with was about actor Clark Gable and his secret daughter. While starring in the 1935 film The Call of the Wind alongside actress Loretta Young, Clark was involved in an extramarital affair with his co-star, and their affair ended with them producing a daughter. Not only did he become an awful person for having an affair and bringing another life into the world through it, but they also set that kid up for a life full of drama because they tried to cover it all up. Because a scandal like this would have meant the end of their careers, they tried to cover it up, but obviously, we still found out. Loretta tried to conceal her pregnancy as best she could, even coming up with an elaborate plan to go on holiday as soon as her bump became too difficult to hide. She ended up having the baby and gave her up for adoption. Despite their effort to cover it all up, they were eventually exposed because the baby, whom they named Judith, inherited Clark's signature ears. All of this just made Clark look pretty bad, and honestly, I feel bad for his spouse, but then again, Clark had a history of cheating, so this wasn't the first time he was seen in a bad light.
And at number 2 is Zoe Kravitz. This dating situation turned from bad to pretty good, depending on how you look at it. Apparently once Zoe Kravitz went on a date and ended up owning his tortoise afterwards. Let me explain. They went on the first date, it was great, and he was talking about how he just got a turtle. The next day he was going out of town and needed someone to watch the turtle, and since nobody else was available to watch it, Zoe's roommate convinced her to watch this turtle. Apparently he dropped off the turtle in a bag at her door, and when she looked inside it, it was not a small turtle like she thought, rather a massive 30-pound tortoise. After the guy had been gone for a week, she asked him when he was coming back, and apparently his trip had been extended and he was going to be gone for a whole month. By the time he got back into town, it had been a month, and they went on a date to catch up. When she went back to his place, she realized it wasn't a good place for a huge tortoise, so she decided to keep the tortoise. Months later, she donated it to a turtle sanctuary. And finally, number 1, Tori Spelling. Tori revealed on her blog a date so bad that she spent the end of it throwing up in the kitchen of a restaurant. Back when she was a huge star working on Beverly Hills 90210, she went on a horrible first date she will never forget. She said an up-and-coming actor took her on a date to one of the hottest restaurants in town, and instead of getting dinner, he only ordered them drinks all night. Not sure if he was trying to get her wasted or was too cheap to just pay for the food. Spelling wrote, quote, "I then selfishly prayed for breadsticks that would never come. He ordered us both rum and cokes. Oh no, I was a wine girl. I didn't usually drink hard alcohol, but I had to act cool, so I went with it. At one point she got up to go to the bathroom, but she stumbled into the kitchen instead, where she then threw up into a saucepan." She added, quote, "A waiter rushed over with a massive copper saucepan where I proceeded to vomit the 4 rum and cokes and the Cliff Bar I had at 11 a.m. into it. It was Donna Martin prom night all over again. I was mortified." That really seems mortifying, unfortunately.
At number 10, Luann and Tom D'Agostino. Real Housewives of New York cast members Luann and Tom D'Agostino weren't the greatest pair, and everyone on set could have told you that. The toxicity ran deep with these two, but most of it stemmed from Tom. The other cast members actually warned Luann about Tom, saying that he was untrustworthy and that he was still in love with his ex, but even with that warning, Luann continued her romance and the two got married on New Year's Eve in 2016. At the end of the show's 8th season, it was revealed that one of the cast members had compromising photos of Tom kissing another woman just days after his and Luann's engagement party. This was a big red flag, as you could imagine. Soon it became apparent to the public that there were some serious problems in their relationship, as Luann and Tom got into a heated argument in public at a restaurant, which ended with Luann slapping Tom across the face. This heated relationship and Tom's constant cheating never subsided, as days before their divorce announcement, Tom was caught with yet another woman, but at that point, no one was really all that surprised. They were only married for 7 months, but those were the craziest 7 months of their lives. Luann regrets not listening to her castmates when they warned her about Tom, and she wishes she never married such an awful person. At number 9, Chad Johnson and Evelyn Lozada. Chad Johnson, also known as Chad Ochocinco, and ex-wife Evelyn Lozada were only married for 2 months, but so much happened in that short amount of time to permanently damage their relationship. Their relationship was intense and toxic, but it wasn't until after they got married that the world really learned just how awful it was. After dating for less than a year, the two were wed in a 4th of July ceremony in 2012, but just 2 months later there came an incident that broke them apart. Evelyn recalled finding a receipt in Chad's car for items that prompted the idea that Chad was cheating. The two fought and it all ended with Chad seriously injuring his wife. Chad was arrested for battery and DV, and they divorced shortly after the incident. Evelyn did an interview after the ordeal where she opened up about her feelings on the situation and how her life had been affected by it. After that, the couple split up and moved on with their lives. Before we carry on talking about some of the worst celebrity marriages, let me first ask you guys to consider leaving a like on this video if you're enjoying it so far, and also consider subscribing to the channel as well to see more videos like this one. At number 8, Elizabeth Taylor and Conrad Hilton. Elizabeth Taylor was one of Hollywood's most memorable icons, and surprisingly, she was married 8 times. She had many stories and encounters to recall throughout her life, but one of her shortest and most regrettable marriages she had was to hotel heir Conrad Hilton. The two were only married for 205 days before undoing their marriage after feeling neglected and hurt by her new husband. She was only 18 at the time of her marriage, but shortly after their wedding, Liz recalled how indifferent Conrad was towards her and how hurt she felt when he spoke to her using abusive language. Liz won her divorce on the grounds of mental cruelty. She refused alimony and took back her maiden name. It was almost like it never happened, and Liz wanted it that way. She knew that she deserved better in life and refused to put up with Conrad's horrible treatment of her. During their honeymoon, the two reportedly fought a lot and spent more time apart than they did together, so this was one of the first red flags that things just weren't right between them. She later told news sources that her idea of marriage was very naive, and so she regretted her decision. She lived a better life without him anyway. At number 7, Woody Allen and Mia Farrow. Now, even though they weren't actually married, I felt like I had to include Woody Allen and Mia Farrow's relationship on here because of just how messed up it was, because Woody had an affair with Mia's adopted daughter, and that is seriously messed up. Mia's daughter Soon-Yi was adopted when she was about 7 years old, and because Mia and Woody were together, Woody became a father figure to her. In 1992, when Soon-Yi was 21, Mia discovered that her daughter and her partner Woody were in a secret relationship when she found intimate photos of Soon-Yi. When Mia confronted Woody, he revealed that he and Soon-Yi had been together for a short time and that he was in love with her. This subsequently ended their relationship, and Allen moved on with Soon-Yi, later getting married in 1997. When reports came out about their marriage, this took a lot of people by surprise and made a lot of people angry. Woody was deemed a pretty horrible person for getting with Mia's daughter, and people haven't been able to stop thinking about how creepy and wrong that is. Woody and Soon-Yi seem fine with it all, but that doesn't take away from the fact that Woody is an awful person for that. At number 6, Jennifer Lopez and Ojani Noah. Jennifer Lopez is no stranger to walking down the aisle. She's been married 3 times already, but the one relationship that was her worst was her first marriage to Ojani Noah. Their marriage lasted less than a year, but their tumultuous drama that came after their divorce has lasted much longer. It seems as though their relationship was destined to fail, as Ojani documented a lot of JLo's life behind the scenes, saving it for later for his own tea spill. Noah tried leaking videos from the couple's honeymoon after their divorce, showing the singer in an intimate setting, and in years since has been very outspoken about the singer, her career, and even had plans to release a tell-all book about his ex, followed by a movie deal. He really came into the relationship for his own personal gain, not for love, it seems. JLo actually ended up suing Ojani in 2009 for $10 million, citing that the videos he released as well as the book and movie deals violated an agreement that they had, which prohibited him from exposing the singer's life. Jennifer now looks back on this relationship with regret and doesn't even count her marriage to Ojani as valid because of how short it was. At number 5, Eddie Murphy and Tracy Edmonds. Comedian Eddie Murphy has had his quarrels with love. After a number of failed relationships, he thought he found the one when he met producer Tracy Edmonds. They dated for a few months before getting engaged, eventually leading to a lavish $500,000 wedding in Bora Bora. You know, things are getting serious when you take it all the way to a tiny island in the middle of the ocean. Their wedding, which was attended by 25 people, wasn't technically legally binding, but they had planned to go through with the whole process upon getting back to the United States after their ceremony, but unfortunately that never ended up happening. It's said that things started to go downhill quite quickly after the ceremony, as people reported Eddie being standoffish and not wanting to spend time with his new bride. Other guests who stayed on the island after the ceremony reported that they could hear Eddie and Tracy yelling at each other, fighting, which ended with Tracy in tears. Just 2 weeks after the wedding, they decided that marriage just wasn't for them and they called it quits. Even though they weren't technically legally married, their marriage was still awful, and they were equally as bad for each other. Maybe it's for the best that things didn't work out. At number 4, Madonna and Guy Ritchie. Here's a marriage that was messy and toxic in every way possible. Madonna and Guy Ritchie divorced over 10 years ago, but their hatred towards one another still lives on, even if it's not as much as it used to be. The two were married for almost a decade, but their distaste for one another has lasted much longer, and because of this negativity, they no doubt regret ever being married in the first place. They both brought their own toxicity into the relationship, so I guess it could be said that they both married awful people because they were just as bad as each other. It seems like their marriage turned sour because Madonna was working so hard on her career, and so things became strained between them and the hostility began to grow. Coming out of the divorce, the worst of it started to come out. Guy made a lot of harsh comments about his marriage to Madonna, comparing his relationship with the singer to a soap opera, and also said that she was more concerned with her public image than she was with their marriage. Madonna fired back at her ex in the past, saying that she felt like she was incarcerated during their marriage and that Guy was nothing but a gold digger. There is just a lot of drama there, which really shows that they weren't a good match at all. At number 3, Amber Heard and Johnny Depp. Now, having a list of celebrities who married awful people, you already know we're going to include Johnny Depp and Amber Heard's tumultuous relationship. A lot was uncovered during their massive court case last year that basically exposed Amber for having hurt Johnny while they were together and having been a horrible partner. We heard stories about Amber severing Johnny's finger with a glass bottle, many of the fights that they had, and even recordings of Amber antagonizing and hurting Johnny. There were instances of physical mistreatment as well as verbal and emotional as well, showing the world how toxic things really were behind closed doors. We found out about how Amber had been cheating on Johnny and how she allegedly went out of her way to outshine him in their industry, always being ready to make big headlines to overshadow him. Amber was no doubt one of the most awful people a celebrity could have married. At number 2, Alexis DeJoria, Sandra Bullock, and Jesse James. Once a cheater, always a cheater, right? That's normally how things go. Well, that's how drag racer Alexis DeJoria and Sandra Bullock feel about their ex-husband Jesse James. Jesse has earned the label of serial cheater after it was discovered that there was some serious infidelity plaguing not only his past relationship with Sandra Bullock, but also his most recent marriage to Alexis. Both Sandra and Alexis have been caught in a cheating scandal with Jesse, and his most recent scandal revealed that Jesse cheated on Alexis with at least 20 different women. According to some sources, it was revealed that Jesse snuck women into his family home with Alexis, as well as fly women out to Austin just to hook up with them in hotel rooms. It was also reported that Alexis tried her best to work things out with Jesse, but he just wasn't interested in making things work and healing their marriage. After all of this drama and broken trust, both Alexis and Sandra regret ever being married to Jesse because of how much disregard he seemed to have for both of their respective relationships. They both married an awful man, and they certainly deserved a better partner. And finally, at number 1, Mary-Kate Olsen and Olivier Sarkozy. After multiple attempts and a lot of drama, Mary-Kate Olsen filed for divorce from her husband Olivier Sarkozy in 2020. Mary-Kate had tried multiple times to file for divorce from her husband through the New York City courts last year, but because of the pandemic and stay-at-home orders in New York, she was denied twice before finally having her paperwork accepted in late May. She wanted to get out of that marriage as soon as possible because drama and toxicity made it unbearable for her to go on any longer. The two had been married since 2015 and apparently had a number of rough patches, most notably their stance on starting a family. Olivier, who already had children with his ex-wife, didn't want any more, though Mary-Kate did. And on top of that, apparently the tipping point in their relationship was when Olivier's ex-wife moved into the couple's home. Mary-Kate seemed to have had enough with their disagreements, and especially those which involved the ex-wife, so she decided to leave her husband. Following her desire to leave, her husband apparently kicked Mary-Kate out of their home, and she was close to losing all of her personal belongings. She later realized what an awful person she married, but I'm sure she's glad to be out of that relationship now. At number 10, Mike Tyson and Robin Givens. Mike Tyson's first marriage to wife Robin Givens was a rocky one. After 11 months of dating, the couple got married in 1988 in the wake of Robin's pregnancy, and afterwards Mike gave Robin and her mother around $10 million to get them settled. In Mike's memoir, he accused Robin of marrying him and locking him into a relationship for her own gain, as he alleged that her pregnancy and subsequent miscarriage were faked in order to get him to marry her. In the media, Mike was dragged through the mud. There were allegations of mistreatment on Mike's part, and the infamous Barbara Walters interview did not help his image. The interview was originally supposed to be a one-on-one profile of Mike, but before the interview, Robin allegedly pulled Barbara aside and told her that she didn't have the whole truth about them. Robin was then invited to join the interview, where she opened up about the things that she sustained while married to Mike and commenting on how she's been treated.
And I woke up and I said, I don't deserve this. I never had this in my life before, and I'm not going to tolerate this.
Soon after the interview, Robin filed for divorce from Mike and was later caught cheating on him with Brad Pitt. Mike most definitely regrets marrying Robin, as he said so in his book, and others refer to his marriage to Robin as, quote, the one that ruined him. People online still debate who was in the wrong in this relationship and who was worse, but do you have any thoughts on this? Let me know down in the comments. At number 9, Axl Rose and Erin Everly. The tumultuous relationship of Axl Rose and Erin Everly is one that is certainly unforgettable, but not necessarily in the best way. The two met while Axl, the frontman for Guns N' Roses, was still a struggling musician in the early days of his music career. Erin became one of the most important people in Axl's life, being the inspiration for the song Sweet Child of Mine. Despite being a good-looking match on the outside, they had a tumultuous relationship, but that didn't stop them from getting married at a Las Vegas ceremony in 1990. Axl allegedly forced Erin into the marriage after he threatened to harm himself if she didn't marry him, so things were already off to a pretty toxic start. The marriage was later annulled in 1991, just 9 months after getting married, and in 94, Erin filed a civil lawsuit against Axl, where she alleged that she was mistreated by her then husband. Since the split, Erin has auctioned off memorabilia that she had kept from her days with Axl in the band, looking to rid herself of any trace of her old ties with them, as she's carried a lot of that pain with her for so long. From what she said about her marriage to Axl, things were certainly bad, and he wasn't the best person to be married to by a long shot. Before we carry on talking about some of these horrible celebrity marriages, why not subscribe to see more videos like this one and leave a like on this video if you're enjoying it so far. At number 8, Prince Charles and Princess Diana. Prince Charles and Princess Diana were one of the most beloved celebrity couples. The whole world loved them. Well, they loved Diana more than anything. She was considered to be the people's princess, but behind closed doors she was living a hard life, neglected by her husband. She was always second best in Charles' eyes, having never gotten over his infatuation for Camilla Parker Bowles. Charles and Diana got married in 1981 and had 2 kids together, but because of Charles' extramarital affairs and Diana's unhappiness in the relationship, they got divorced in 1996. Diana regretted marrying Charles because she always knew that there would always be 3 people in the marriage: her, Charles, and Camilla. She deserved so much better, but she got Charles' cold shoulder instead. She was loved by the world, and eventually, after she was freed from the royal family, that became enough. Now, I'm not saying that Charles is an awful person himself, but their whole marriage just wasn't very positive, and Diana got into a pretty unfortunate situation when she married the prince. At number 7, Ike and Tina Turner. Tina Turner is an absolute legend. And to think that someone would ever want to hurt this talented woman is honestly so sad. Ike and Tina were a musical powerhouse, but they had a tumultuous and toxic relationship, leaving Tina regretting having ever known him. The two met while Tina was still a teenager, and they began performing together, starting their musical act. In 1962, the two got married and continued to perform together for the following decade. Though they were a successful duo, Ike had been severely hurting Tina behind the scenes, causing her so much pain that she didn't deserve, and even prompting her to try to take her own life. After surviving her attempt, she made it her mission to leave Ike and begin a fresh start on her own. That's exactly what she did, and she became an even bigger star because of it. At number 6, Marilyn Monroe and Joe DiMaggio. When Marilyn Monroe and Joe DiMaggio got married, it was a pretty big deal. The actress and the athlete looked like a beautiful match who were deeply in love, having met and married within a relatively short amount of time. They looked to be head over heels for each other, but some believe that their marriage was rushed because it all took place within the time that they had between work engagements. They got married in a quiet city hall ceremony in January 1954 and turned a work trip to Japan into their honeymoon. But just 9 months later, that spark had faded and their relationship crumbled apart. Joe allegedly wanted a stay-at-home wife, but because Marilyn was at the height of her career, she wouldn't agree to that and wanted to keep working. Joe also apparently had a hard time coming to terms with his wife's image, and apparently her famous subway grate scene was the last straw. Their marriage ended with Marilyn citing mental cruelty as one of the reasons behind their divorce. She didn't like how her husband didn't want to support her, and that's just not what she needed in her life then. In a relationship, you need to be able to support your partner no matter what, so clearly this wasn't a very good match. At number 5, Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt. Brangelina used to be one of the hottest celebrity matches in Hollywood, but ever since their split, it's been dark times for them, especially Brad. Once upon a time, they were seen as the industry's it couple, having spanned over 10 years and raising many kids together, but their divorce is where things get toxic and messy. When the couple announced that they were calling it quits in 2016, a lot of people wondered why, and one of the answers given was because of a dispute that Brad had allegedly had with Angelina about his substance abuse that resulted in Brad getting into an altercation with their oldest son, Maddox. It was alleged that Brad was hurting others, and though an investigation cleared him of said allegations, Angie is now saying that she's prepared to share proof that Brad was in fact hurting his family. Recently, Angelina came forward saying that she's willing to offer her children's testimony against Brad as proof, and this could blow the doors off their relationship, giving us more information as to how toxic things really were. The fact that Angie claims claims to have proof of how bad things were shows how serious the situation was, and the fact that there's been so much drama and allegations against Brad, he might be considered to be an awful person. At number 4, Lena Waithe and Alana Mayo. Screenwriter Lena Waithe and her ex-wife Alana Mayo surprised fans when they announced that they had gotten married in a private and secret ceremony that was a spur-of-the-moment decision, but just 2 months later they announced their separation. In a joint statement to their supporters, the couple announced that they were splitting up, and so as fans do, they speculated as to why they ended their relationship so quickly. Rumors that Lena had been unfaithful started swirling, and some sources even said that their relationship had been rocky even before the couple got married. According to some, Lena and Alana's wedding came after multiple cases of cheating, and that even after their wedding, Lena was still buying expensive gifts for other women. Allegedly, this was all too much for Alana to handle, and so they called it quits. Cheating in a relationship is always a recipe for disaster, and marrying a cheater is just so unfortunate, but at least you get to move on to bigger and better things. At number 3, Wendy Williams and Kevin Hunter Sr. In 2019, talk show host Wendy Williams exposed her husband's serious affair with his massage therapist. Wendy's 20-year marriage to husband Kevin Hunter Sr. was dissolved after he was accused of not only cheating on Wendy but also fathering another woman's child. When news broke of Kevin's affair, it was also revealed that the mistress had given birth to their child, and upon discovering this information, Wendy called it quits right then and there. When speaking out about the whole dramatic affair, Wendy said, quote, "Look, my husband had a full baby with a woman he was involved with for 15 years. Infidelity is one thing, a full baby is a whole nother topic. A baby. I'm not changing Pampers. I want to be pampered. I learned from my mother how to make lemons into lemonade. What am I supposed to do? Stay in the house and cry all day?" End quote. She definitely regrets her marriage to Kevin just because of how serious his affair was. She married an awful person because not only did he end up cheating on Wendy, but he had a whole child with another woman. At that point, I'm sure you would wish that you had never met that person in the first place. At number 2, J-Lo and Alex Rodriguez. Now, even though they weren't technically married, Alex Rodriguez and Jennifer Lopez still had the intention of doing so. That is, until things got messy and Alex was caught in a cheating scandal. Cheating scandals aren't anything new for the baseball player, having been accused of infidelity in the past, but this new scandal might have been the one where J-Lo said enough is enough and called off the wedding. In January of this year, Alex was accused of cheating on J-Lo with reality TV star Madison LaCroix. This rumor started circulating after LaCroix was accused of having an alleged affair with a former MLB player. And this was brought up during a taping of a reality reunion show. Shortly after the taping aired, these allegations escalated, with Madison admitting to having been in contact with A-Rod. She insisted that their communications were innocent, saying that they never met up and never had any physical contact, saying, quote, "He's never physically cheated with his fiancée with me." The only solid proof that we have of A-Rod being in contact with Madison comes from a source close to Alex, who told sources that Alex had slid into Madison's DMs and that they had exchanged some, quote, "thirsty photos." Not too long after this all went down, A-Rod and J-Lo announced that they were breaking up and called off their engagement. Cheaters are awful. Period. And finally, at number 1, Jada Kramer and Mike Cosson. I stand by the saying, once a cheater, always a cheater, and so do a lot of people who've been in failed relationships. Once your partner does you wrong once, it takes a lot to regain that trust, and sometimes after a bond is broken. This seems to have been the case with football player Mike Cosson and his wife, singer and actress Jada Kramer. The couple faced a cheating scandal in 2016, and after that they spent the next few years trying to work on their marriage, trying to reconcile after this drama affected them so greatly, but the couple recently called it quits on their marriage when Jada took to social media in late April to announce their divorce. Her message to the public read, quote, "It's time. I try to make sense of a reality I never wanted to believe could be possible again. Those words have now become reality. I've fought, y'all. I've loved hard. I've forgiven. I put the work in. I've given everything I have, and now I have nothing else to give." The couple briefly split following the cheating scandal I mentioned before, where Mike's secrets were exposed, and though they were able to make amends and try to work on regaining their bond, things just weren't meant to work out in the long term, it seems. In her filings, Janet also cited causes and reasons for their divorce, saying that, quote, "Inappropriate marital conduct, irreconcilable differences, and adultery were the reasons behind their failed marriage." In the end, people came to see that Jana married a pretty awful person, but the fact that they're free from each other is for the best, so now they can move on and grow from this. At number 10, Kenya Duke and Gary Owen. Imagine being betrayed by your partner after 20 years of marriage. Well, that's essentially what Kenya Duke went through after she found out that her husband Gary Owen had been cheating. Kenya Duke filed for divorce in March of this year, making allegations that her husband had been unfaithful in their marriage. After news broke of their divorce filing, Kenya took to her Instagram to imply that her husband had an affair with a woman from Dallas, someone who was mutual friends with Gary and reality TV star Claudia Jordan. In a now deleted Instagram post, Kenya sent a message to the other woman, whom she calls Dallas, Texas, saying, quote, "Dallas, Texas, I have your info. I'm going to deal with you in a minute. I'm a little busy now. You can have him, but you can't disrespect me and my kids in the process. At Gary Owen Comedy, let her know a storm is coming. You should know better. Married, not separated. Married." End quote. But Kenya wasn't done clapping back though, because she also followed this message up with one that was meant for her husband, where she said, quote, "All the energy you spent lying, acting, and creating a fake narrative for these women that you want to be me, you could have done it with a veggie burger and a glass of fake filtered water." End quote. I've said it in every single one of these videos, but being with a cheater just means you married an awful person. At number 9, Tiger Woods and Ellen Norgren. One of the most famous cheating scandals from pro golfer Tiger Woods in 2009 shattered his golden boy image and made him look like an awful person. It all started with a car crash. Tiger had crashed his Cadillac into a fire hydrant, and this incident made headlines, but it also drew attention to another headline that he had made days earlier after tabloids published a story alleging that Tiger was having an affair with a nightclub manager. Soon, one alleged affair turned into many more, as 6 women ended up coming forward, saying that they had also had intimate relationships with the golfer. His wife was understandably furious to find out about all of her husband's affairs, and their marriage was ruined after that. I'm sure she no doubt regretted ever marrying such an awful person in the first place. Before we continue talking about celebrities who made horrible marriage decisions, why not take a moment to leave a like on this video to help support the channel, and maybe even consider subscribing to the channel to see more videos like this one. At number 8, Arnold Schwarzenegger and Maria Shriver. Actor and former governor of California, Arnold Schwarzenegger, was caught in a very messy and high-profile cheating scandal that not only brought life into the world but ruined relationships and turned him into an awful person. In 1997, Arnold had an affair with the family's former housekeeper Patty, and she soon became pregnant with his son. At the very same time, Arnold's wife was also expecting their 4th kid. As if the universe wanted to make things extra chaotic for Arnold, both his wife and mistress ended up giving birth within 5 days of each other, though they wouldn't know about one another until about a decade later. But much like all secrets, they come out eventually, and Arnold ended up coming clean to his wife about his affair in 2007. This information wasn't immediately shared with the public until 2011, where things blew up. Arnold revealed his infidelity to the public after announcing that he and his wife Maria were separating, while also revealing the truth about his kid with his mistress. This wasn't fair to Arnold's wife nor his mistress, because this secret really blew up their lives and it affected their kids too, so Maria certainly married someone awful. At number 7, Audrina Patridge and Corey Bohan. The Hill star Audrina Patridge and BMX athlete Corey Bohan had a toxic and tumultuous relationship that was really just negative in every sense of the word. After about 7 years of dating, the couple got engaged in November of 2015 and were soon married by the following year after welcoming their daughter Kira into the world. By 2018, they were done and the legal battle began. Audrina alleged that Corey was violent towards her. Leading up to their official divorce, Audrina had been granted a restraining order preventing Corey from being within 100 feet of his wife and daughter. Audrina claimed that Corey had been very aggressive towards her on multiple occasions and that she just couldn't take it anymore. Luckily, she was able to get out of that horrible relationship and probably regrets getting into it in the first place. Needless to say, this was an awful marriage through and through. At number 6, David Letterman and Regina Lasko. When people are having an affair, they become very secretive as to not get caught, but in most cases, cheaters are almost always exposed so people can see what a horrible person this cheater is. This is what happened with David Letterman, as someone caught wind of his scandalous extramarital entanglements. In October 2009, on his late night talk show, David Letterman got serious with his audience and he exposed his affair and revealed to the public that he had been intimately involved with someone from the studio. He also revealed that this revelation he is sharing was because someone was threatening to blackmail him for $2 million. He said that one day he found a mysterious package sitting in his car and it included proof of his affair and a demand to be paid in order to keep things quiet. He said that if he didn't pay up, his blackmailer would reveal his secrets to the public, but rather than get swallowed up in the scandal, he faced it head on. Soon details of his affairs started to come to light, detailing how he had slept with women who worked for him at the studio. He was married at the time of this scandal and remains so to this day. The couple were able to work through things, but David is still an awful person for cheating on his spouse. At number 5, John Finlay and Joe Exotic. We all know about Joe Exotic and his crazy relationships. After he gained a little fame with the success of the Tiger King documentary on Netflix last year, he and the others involved in his life became sort of public figures. To give us more insight on Joe, his ex-husband John Finlay recently came forward to talk about his life after the documentary brought him some minor popularity, and he exposed his former relationship with the now imprisoned Big Cat owner and exposed their marriage. John cannot express enough how regretful his marriage to Joe Exotic was. John said that this whole marriage was fake and toxic and that it was just for Joe's popularity, remarking that the wedding that was shown in the documentary, which showed him, Joe, and Travis Maldonado, was all, quote, basically a publicity stunt so Joe could get his own reality TV series, end quote. John spoke out saying that he still carries the pain from his time with Joe and is trying to forget his past by moving on with his new wife and making steps towards having the tattoos of Joe removed from his body. Joe went through a lot of trauma when he was with Joe, but luckily he's moving on from this dark time in his life. At number 4, Eminem and Kim Mathers. When asked about some toxic relationships they know of, a surprising amount of people reference Eminem and his ex-wife Kim Mathers because of their rocky past and marriage. Eminem met Kim in a youth home in 1988 when they were teenagers. From that point on, they stayed by each other's side even when living together at Eminem's mother's house. From that point until 1999, the two had a rocky and sort of toxic relationship, being an on and off again couple. In 1995, they had a daughter, and in 1999, the two ended up getting married. Their wedding took place on June 14th, 1999, just before Marshall's first major tour as his career was taking off. Kim said later on that this tour took the greatest toll on their marriage, saying, quote, when Marshall's first tour started is when his ego just went poof, like he was God, that's what he thought. I was told that I should be grateful that he still talks to me. You know how many women throw themselves at him? And I just pretty much felt like a piece of crap. End quote. From then, their marriage went downhill as they were met with cheating scandals and mental health struggles. Eventually, they got a divorce in 2000, remarried in 2006, then divorced again, this time ending things for good. Because of how toxic things were between them, I guess it could be argued that Eminem was an awful partner. At number 3, Cardi B and Offset. Cardi and Offset have had a rocky relationship, and many people say that they are both just awful for each other. Because of all the drama that these two have had in the past during their marriage, and the fact that they almost got divorced, I think it's safe to say that things have been bad before, and it's honestly kind of debatable whether things are actually okay now or not. Though they have been married for over 3 years and have kids together, apparently that hasn't stopped Offset from seeking comfort elsewhere. As I mentioned, Cardi even filed for divorce from Offset in 2020 because of his infidelity, though they later got back together after he spoiled her for her birthday, buying her a $300,000 car and dedicating a billboard to her. Offset has had a number of cheating scandals over the course of his relationship with Cardi. In 2018, about a year after the couple got married in secret, Offset faced rumors that he had cheated on Cardi and even made an adult film with another woman. Back in 2020, he faced more cheating allegations when it was rumored that he even fathered a child during this affair. A lot of people say that this is a toxic relationship, but they just keep coming back to each other, so I guess we'll just have to wait and see how things play out, I guess. At number 2, Kim Kardashian and Damon Thomas. Before Kim Kardashian was ever with Kanye West or Kris Humphries, she was married to a man named Damon Thomas. Kim and Damon eloped in 2000 when Kim was 19, but their marriage only lasted until 2004. Damon was 10 years older than her, and Kim accused him of, quote, poisoning her against her friends and family, and that he urged her to drop out of college. Kim also said that he would be violent towards her. On top of that, she's also said that Damon encouraged her to get plastic surgery so that she would look perfect. On the flip side of this, Damon alleged that Kim was only accusing him of all that in an attempt to get more money out of him in the divorce settlement. Either way, it sounds like Kim went through a lot of negativity with him, and she certainly married an awful person. And finally, at number 1, Kathy Griffin and Matthew Modine. In a relationship, when trust is broken, it's very hard to rebuild it. That's why a lot of relationships and marriages crumble, and this is part of the reason why Kathy Griffin divorced her husband Matthew Modine in 2005. Kathy opened up about what broke their marriage when talking to Larry King when she said, quote, my ex-husband, without my knowledge, was sneaking into my wallet when I was asleep in the mornings and taking my ATM cards of my own private accounts and withdrawing money. He admitted it and apologized, and we went to couples therapy. I really wanted to make it work. Unfortunately, we were not able to get beyond the trust issue. To steal from your partner is super sketchy and makes you a pretty awful person, because not only are you breaking trust and being dishonest, but you're taking something away from this person who worked really hard to acquire it.